Have you ever watched a franchise systematically destroy its own potential year after year, making the same catastrophic mistakes while expecting different results? Welcome to the maddening, soul-crushing reality of being a Chicago Bulls fan in 2024. We're not just talking about a few bad seasons or unfortunate injuries here. We're witnessing what might be the most frustrating example of organizational incompetence in modern NBA history. The Bulls have somehow managed to turn roster construction into an art form of failure, creating a team so fundamentally flawed that even their successes feel like accidents waiting to become disasters. For the past several seasons, Bulls fans have endured the equivalent of watching a master chef try to prepare a gourmet meal using only a toaster and a plastic spoon. The ingredients might be decent individually, but the execution is so fundamentally wrong that the end result leaves everyone hungry and disappointed. The front office continues making moves that seem logical in isolation, but create a roster that makes absolutely no sense when you step back and examine the bigger picture. This isn't just about wins and losses anymore. This is about an organization that seems incapable of learning from its own mistakes, doubling down on failed strategies while the fanbase screams into the void, begging for anyone, to show even a basic understanding of how modern basketball actually works. The Bulls' roster construction problems aren't subtle or complex. They're glaring, obvious, and maddening in their persistence. For years now, this organization has operated like they're playing some alternate version of basketball where positions don't matter and size is just a suggestion rather than a fundamental requirement for success. Picture this absurdity. Javonte Green, standing all of 6 feet 4 inches, regularly manning the power forward position against legitimate big men who tower over him by half a foot or more. It's not just ineffective, it's borderline embarrassing to watch. The visual of Green trying to defend Karl-Anthony Towns or Nikola Jokic in the post isn't just a mismatch, it's a comedy routine that opposing teams exploit mercilessly every single night. Derek Jones Jr., another 6 feet 5 inches player, has similarly been thrust into frontcourt roles that expose every limitation in his game while highlighting the front office's complete inability to address their most glaring weakness. These aren't emergency adjustments due to injuries. These are strategic decisions that reveal a fundamental misunderstanding of what it takes to compete in the modern NBA. The Patrick Williams experiment represents perhaps the most stubborn and misguided personnel decision in recent memory. Williams possesses legitimate talent and has shown flashes of brilliance, but forcing him into the power forward role is like trying to use a Ferrari as a pickup truck. Sure, it's an expensive, high-quality vehicle, but it's completely wrong for the job you're asking it to do. Williams thrives when he can utilize his mobility and perimeter skills at small forward, but the Bulls have persistently tried cramming him into a role that neutralizes his strengths while exposing his weaknesses. The result has been years of underwhelming performance from a player who could excel elsewhere on the roster if deployed correctly. The Bulls' summer acquisitions revealed both their awareness of the problem and their continued inability to solve it effectively. Drafting Mattis Buzelis was a solid move that showed forward thinking, but it doesn't address immediate needs. Trading DeMar DeRozan for essentially nothing while acquiring players like Jalen Smith represents the kind of lateral movement that maintains mediocrity rather than pushing toward excellence. The Lonzo Ball trade for Isaac Okoro particularly exemplifies the organization's flawed thinking. While Okoro brings defensive intensity that Williams lacks, he shares many of the same offensive limitations that make the frontcourt predictable and easy to defend. Instead of finding a player who complements their existing pieces, they simply replaced one limited offensive player with another. These moves feel like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. Technically, movement is happening, but the fundamental problems remain unchanged. The Bulls continue operating as if marginal improvements will somehow create the dramatic transformation their roster desperately needs. Enter the most intriguing trade proposal to emerge this offseason. A 3-team blockbuster that would completely reshape the Bulls' identity while addressing their most pressing needs. The deal would send Coby White, Zach Collins, and a protected first-round pick to Miami for Scottie Barnes. while Toronto receives Tyler Herro and Miami's future first-rounder. The immediate reaction from Bulls fans would likely be pure shock. Trading Coby White, arguably their best and most consistent performer last season, feels like organizational malpractice at first glance. White averaged over 20 points per game while shooting a career-best 37% from three-point range on nearly 8 attempts per night. His development into a legitimate offensive weapon has been one of the few bright spots in recent Bulls history. White's improvement represents years of patient development finally paying dividends. His shooting efficiency, improved decision-making, and increased confidence have transformed him from a promising prospect into a legitimate starting guard. Losing that production would create an immediate void that wouldn't be easily replaced through internal options. However, the strategic logic behind such a move becomes clearer when examining the broader context. White is entering the final year of his contract and will command significant money as an unrestricted free agent next summer. The Bulls face the prospect of either paying him market value, which could be substantial given his production, or losing him for nothing. Scottie Barnes represents everything the Bulls have been missing in their front court for the better part of a decade. Standing 6 feet 8 inches with exceptional athleticism and defensive instincts, Barnes brings the kind of two-way impact that transforms team identity rather than simply filling roster spots. His 2023-24 statistics tell the story of a player entering his prime. 19.9 points, 8.2 rebounds, 6.1 assists, 1.5 steals, and 1.3 blocks per game. These aren't just impressive numbers, they represent the complete statistical profile of a franchise-altering talent who impacts winning in multiple ways every single night. Barnes earned Rookie of the Year honors and an All-Star selection not through empty statistics or favorable circumstances, but by demonstrating the kind of basketball intelligence and versatility that championship teams require. His ability to guard multiple positions, initiate offense from the forward spot, and create advantages through his passing makes him the exact type of player the Bulls have been desperately seeking. The defensive impact alone would transform Chicago's identity. Barnes possesses the size and athleticism to defend legitimate big men while maintaining the lateral quickness to switch onto guards when necessary. This versatility would finally allow coach Billy Donovan to deploy defensive schemes that don't require constant compromises and mismatches. Offensively, Barnes brings a dimension the Bulls have never possessed during their current rebuild. His court vision from the forward position creates unique advantages, allowing him to operate as a point forward who can initiate sets while maintaining the size to finish plays in the paint. This dual capability would unlock offensive possibilities that simply don't exist with their current personnel. Every transformative trade involves significant risk, and this proposal certainly qualifies as high-stakes gambling with the franchise's future. Trading away their leading scorer for a player who has never averaged 20 points per game requires enormous conviction in Barnes' upside and fit within their system. The immediate backlash from fans would be intense and understandable. White has earned genuine affection through his development and professionalism, making his departure feel like a betrayal of loyalty and patience. The emotional connection between players and fan base cannot be dismissed when evaluating trades of this magnitude. From a basketball perspective, the Bulls would be betting that Barnes' two-way impact outweighs White's offensive production. This calculation depends heavily on their ability to replace White's scoring through other means while maximizing Barnes' unique skill set within their existing framework. The timeline considerations add another layer of complexity. White is entering his prime years and could continue improving his overall game, while Barnes is still developing consistency in certain areas. The Bulls would essentially be trading proven production for projected upside, always a dangerous proposition in professional sports. The successful integration of Barnes would depend largely on the Bulls' ability to surround him with complementary pieces. Josh Giddey's playmaking would take on increased importance in White's absence, requiring him to shoulder greater offensive responsibilities while maintaining his rebounding and defensive contributions. Ayo Dosunmu would likely see expanded opportunities to showcase his scoring ability, potentially filling some of the offensive void left by White's departure. His defensive versatility and improved three-point shooting make him a logical candidate for increased usage, though expecting him to fully replace White's production would be unrealistic. The frontcourt rotation would undergo dramatic changes with Barnes' arrival. Patrick Williams could finally move to his natural small forward position, while Isaac Okoro might become expendable in subsequent trades. This positional clarity would benefit everyone involved while creating additional trade assets for future improvements. Long-term salary cap implications favor this move significantly. Barnes is under contract through 2026 to 27 with a player option, providing cost certainty during his prime years. White's impending free agency creates uncertainty and potential financial commitments that could hamper future flexibility. Ultimately, this trade proposal forces a fundamental question about the Bulls' championship aspirations and timeline. Are they building toward genuine contention, or simply trying to maintain respectability while hoping for miraculous development from existing pieces? Barnes represents the kind of foundational talent around which championship teams are built. His combination of size, skill, and basketball intelligence provides a building block that could attract additional talent while creating sustainable success. The Bulls have lacked this type of cornerstone player during their entire rebuild, settling for complementary pieces without ever securing a true franchise cornerstone. The Eastern Conference landscape makes this decision even more critical. Teams like Boston, Philadelphia, and Milwaukee continue improving their rosters through aggressive moves, while the Bulls remain stuck in mediocrity through conservative decision-making. This trade represents the kind of bold stroke necessary to break free from their current trajectory. The Bulls organization stands at a crossroads that will define their next several seasons. They can continue making marginal adjustments while hoping their current core somehow transforms into something greater, or they can make the difficult decisions necessary to create genuine change. This trade proposal represents more than roster construction. It's a philosophical statement about organizational priorities and championship commitment. The willingness to trade away their leading scorer for positional need and long-term upside would signal a newfound seriousness about building sustainable success. So here's the ultimate question that keeps me awake at night. Is this the franchise-altering move that finally transforms the Bulls from pretenders into legitimate contenders? Or are we just watching another organization convince itself that change equals improvement? And honestly, after years of disappointment, do we even trust this front office to execute such a massive trade without somehow making it worse? Share your thoughts, because this decision could literally determine whether the next 5 years bring championship parades or continued mediocrity.